Well, hi everyone. I'm Manuel, and my TED talk is going to be about the Spanish education system. Did you know that the balance of oxygen is 2? Well, guess what? Before today's class, I didn't either. But you know what else? I don't care. And you know why? Because to me, it's not useful, and because I can Google that in a second. Here's why I'm going to talk about why I think the Spanish education system is becoming obsolete. First of all, let's start defining the word obsolete. Obsolete is something that is no longer useful. The Spanish education system is becoming obsolete because it is based on the way of transmitting knowledge rather than on creativity, on innovation, and on the autonomy of the student. I'm not saying that 50 years ago the system as we know it was not good, but nowadays the world is completely different, and so too should be our education system. According to research by CaixaBank, and a Spanish bank, Spain has the biggest dropout rate in the European Union. 22% of people between 18 and 24 years that live in Spain have not continued their studies beyond fourth of ESO. This rate has decreased from roughly 70% in 1977 to 30% in the 90s. In other words, after 30 years, the dropout rate has just decreased by only 8%. Isn't this shocking? My point here is that our education system needs improvement. Students need to stay in school, but they're not. And perhaps you can say that this is because people in Spain just don't like school. But if learning is a human necessity, why is that the majority of people decide not to continue? There must be something wrong with the way we're being taught. I'm going to explain you what I think that is wrong with the education system. In our schools, we learn how to memorize the content and then regurgitate back on a piece of paper. In some subjects, such as math or physics, we have to repeat the same type of exercises hundreds of times until it becomes habitual and we can even process what we're doing. Here's an example. In case you aren't aware, in our school life, our parents are very demanding of us, pressuring us to get good grades and be the very best. A really good example of how we feel is described by Kyle Martin. Basically, this student graduated with the best grades in his graduating class and gave a speech that has since become very famous. He states that after receiving his title, he didn't feel anything. Now think about this for a second. We're learning in a system where if we get a good grade, it's all fun and games for the next 30 seconds of our lives. Only us students know how difficult it is to attain the desired grade. Our education system is monotonous, filled with fluff, and it doesn't always teach us things that we need to know. Here are some examples of topics that will be useful in everyday life that school doesn't teach us. How to do taxes, how to deal with our emotions, communication skills, sexual education, how to recognize our talents. And I could keep going, but the list is too long and I don't want to be boring. But let me tell you something. I'm not the only one who feels this way. For example, people that have graduated and now work admit that they do not use almost anything that they learned in school. This is sad to hear, but helpful in order for you to understand my point of view. I once asked my math teacher if he, as a former architect, has ever used the things that he was teaching us. Long story short, we spent 20 minutes out of the 55-minute long period talking about the useless thing that we learn in school every day. Irony at its finest. He was saying how a lot of teachers also think like this and believe that the government should change what students are required to learn nowadays, because so much of it is antiquated. In schools, we're taught to stick to the status quo, to understand history from the same entire perspective, to solve the algebraic equation the same way it has been solved for decades, to know that the mitochondria is a powerhouse of the cell, and to properly structure a sentence in Spanish.
No, no.
Here's my issue with that. Every big change that has happened in the history of humanity, every impactful thing that humankind has ever achieved, has derived from trying something new, from taking a different approach from the norm, from creating or discovering something unique. I want to leave you with a quote by a man almost everyone agrees is smart, Albert Einstein. Everyone is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live his whole life believing that it's stupid. Kids don't want to learn if they feel stupid. They want to feel in charge about what they're learning. They want to feel good. Let's let students find their way and develop their own approach to climbing a tree, or swimming up the river, or flying across the sky, or running after they pray. Thank you.